Hey guys, it's been a minute since I filmed a video, as I'm sure you've noticed. It takes me a really long time to edit these videos, and I do work full time. So today I'm gonna try a different idea. I'm gonna see if I can make a video that's a lot less edited and just see what you think about that. It's gonna be a really informative video. I wanted for a long time to know how to can my own chicken broth at home. It was super intimidating, and I watched a lot of YouTube videos and compiled some information and then tried it for myself, and you guys, it's so easy. It's like stupid easy. So follow along with me today on this video. I'll show you a really easy way to can your own chicken broth at home, and trust me, if you do it just like I'm telling you to do it, you shouldn't die. We haven't died from our chicken broth, and it tastes delicious. It's way better than buying it from the store. It's so cheap. I make a roast chicken pretty much once a week anyway, so why not just boil the bones and make my own broth? Here's a can or a jar that I canned probably like a month and a half ago. If you notice, it looks a little cloudy, and that's just because I didn't add vinegar to the water because I was a newbie. But we'll try adding vinegar to the water today to try to avoid this cloudy glass situation. But you guys, this is good chicken broth. And I'm down to 1 jar. So I use chicken broth a lot in cooking, and it's so quick and easy. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. So let's do it together. Here we go. All right, so to follow instructions, I would look at the instructions in the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. It has about 1 million recipes, or 400 to be exact. I'm not following their chicken broth recipe. I've made my own, but I do follow their rules as far as the canning times and pressure amount. So check out this book. It's a wealth of information. Okay, here is my pressure canner. So I have a Presto pressure canner. I don't know how many quarts it is, but it's a big boy. It holds a lot of jars. It's got your pressure gauge here, and then I keep all of my canning supplies just inside of here because I have to store this out in the garage because we have no cabinets in this kitchen. I've got my little pressure weight down there in the bottom. And the reason that you have to use a pressure canner for chicken broth is because the acidity is not high enough in chicken broth to be able to water bath can. So that was a big question I had whenever I first started looking into doing this was, can I just do this in a water bath, or do I have to buy a pressure canner? And unfortunately, you do have to purchase a pressure canner. They're not crazy expensive. Thankfully, I asked for this for my birthday, and my mama and daddy got it for me, and I'll be able to use it for years and years and years and years and years. So yes, you do have to pressure can, and I use the Presto pressure canner. Okay, so I don't really have a recipe for my chicken broth, but I typically make it in the Instant Pot or in the slow cooker. So I'll make a chicken and then put the bones in this little liner. And then I just leave the leftover vegetables in the bottom and fill it up with water. And sometimes I'll add additional vegetables, just depending. But what you see here floating is just the chicken skin. And I know it looks kind of disgusting, but I promise you it's delicious. And what I'm gonna do is just strain this off and go from there. This is all I do to strain. I put a big glass Pyrex measuring cup in here, and then I just take a mesh strainer and sit it in the sink. And be very careful because I have burned myself doing this very badly, so be safe. Today I'm using Kerr jars with the sealing lid, just the normal type with a band. And what I'm gonna do is just give these a good wash with soap and water. Typically whenever I do this, I like to run them through the dishwasher, but guess what? My dishwasher is full of clean dishes, and I am that girl that really sucks at unloading the dishwasher. So for now, we're just gonna do this method and make sure they're nice and clean. All right, now before you start canning, you want to make sure that you have this piece in the bottom of your canner. If you don't have that, I've heard that you can fold up a kitchen towel and put it down in there. But what that's going to do is avoid direct contact with the jars to the element on your stove. So it's going to keep your jars from breaking. So you do need some sort of barrier. You can use this thing, which if you've lost it, I've heard you can find them at Goodwill a lot. But Otherwise, you can just use a kitchen towel or anything to create some sort of a barrier there. That's obviously not gonna melt. All right, to get started, I'm gonna fill this pressure canner up with 3 quarts of water, which is this bottom mark that you can see here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. It's that bottom mark there. Okay, so 3 quarts of water is heavy. That's probably the hardest part of this whole situation. But there you go. There's 3 quarts of water. Here we go. One other thing to note here is that I have filled this with hot water because we're doing what's called hot packing, which means I'm adding hot liquid to a hot jar in hot water. All right, so here's how I like to fill my jars. I take a placemat, just a regular kind of placemat. One that's kind of soft. You could also use a dish towel, something like that. I just like to put this down to keep my jars from cracking. I have 4 quart jars that I'm gonna try to fill. I don't know if we will actually be able to fill all 4, but I've got them out just in case. So let's see how this goes. All right, so the first thing you wanna do is check the top of your jar for any cracks or dings. If there's a crack or a ding, oh, you can see Karen. If there's a crack or ding in the top of the jar, it could prevent your lids from sealing. So you wanna double check that first. Then take your little canning funnel and pop it down in here. And I'm just gonna use a 1 cup measure to fill these. And you want to leave 1 inch of headspace at the top of the jar. And yes, it is very hot. Just splashed on my hand. And these jars are still warm from washing them. So. All right, so that's about 1 inch of headspace. There's 1 quart. Let's fill the others. All right, so as you can see, I got 3 full quarts. And last time I did this, I ran out of chicken stock just about 1 inch shy of the inch of headspace. So what I did is just added water because, I mean, that's essentially what chicken broth is. So if you run out, don't panic, just add chicken broth. If you have a lot less, then maybe just can it in like a pint-sized jar. So I've turned my stove on to medium high and I'm letting the water start to warm up, and I'm gonna add the lids to my cans now. Okay, so now I'm gonna clean off the rims just to make sure that we get a good seal using white distilled vinegar. So I'm just gonna put some on a paper towel and clean around the edges. Sorry if you hear my cat, Karen. She really wants to help out. And this step is really important, especially whenever you're doing chicken broth, because it can be kind of fatty and can keep the lids from sealing really well. Okay, so I have my clean jar lids and I'm just gonna sit them on here. And you're gonna twist this what they call fingertip tight, which is just barely tightened. And you wanna do that to allow the air to escape as it's pressure canning. All right, into the canner. So I have my little jar holders, and hilariously, I thought you were supposed to use this end and it was a struggle last time. So just note, you are supposed to use this end, not this end. What I'm gonna do is carefully put these guys down into the water. Remember, hot can, hot water, hot liquid. When you're hot packing, that is. And in this scenario, your water doesn't necessarily need to be above the jars. So I'll show you what it looks like. Here they are, 3 jars. Let's get the lid on. I'm also gonna add 2 tablespoons of white distilled vinegar to the water to keep that cloudiness from showing up on the jars this time. We'll give it a shot. Totally eyeballing this, by the way. I don't think it's that, I don't think the measurements are that important on this part. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so now we're gonna put the lid on and get going. So you just line up the V's on the top, which I'll show you here in a second. twist hard. Match up the V's and then pull hard and line these up. And then you're gonna wait till steam starts coming out of here and let it steam for 10 minutes before placing this weight on. Let it steam for 10 minutes. Here we go. Okay, as you can see here, it might be kind of hard to see on camera actually, but there is steam coming out of the little spout here, and we're gonna set a timer for 10 minutes. And we're gonna let this release steam for 10 minutes. And just FYI, it does take a long time for this to come up to this point, so don't be alarmed. Just stay nearby. All right, you're gonna notice that this little thing starts spewing and then it pops up out of the lid all of a sudden. That just means it's coming up to pressure. Good sign. Okay, the timer is going off, and all I'm gonna do now is place this little weight. Oh, scary. Place it right on top. Ah! And we are gonna try to reach 11 pounds of pressure on this guy. So just stay nearby. All right, 5-minute check-in. We're almost there. All right, we have made it. We're doing 10 pounds of pressure for 20 minutes. Sorry, 25 minutes because we're doing quarts. And to keep it at this pressure, what I'm gonna do is just reduce the heat a little bit and watch it for a second. And keep reducing the heat until it sticks at 10 pounds of pressure. If you live in a higher elevation, you need to look up what pressure you need to can at. But I am in Central Texas, so I only require 10 pounds of pressure. I'm gonna go ahead and set my timer for 25 minutes since I'm doing quart jars. That is what the ball canning book tells me to do. So you can see here, 20 minutes for pints and 25 for quarts. So you can see here it's gone above 10 pounds of pressure. So what I've done is just reduce the heat pretty low. And I'm just gonna keep watching it to try to get it back down to 10. All right, timer has gone off. Turn it off, and then all you need to do is completely turn off the heat and move this to another burner. You can see I just made taco meat. But you'll just move this to a different burner and let it cool completely. Or not cool completely, but let it naturally release its pressure. And you'll know the pressure is done whenever this little thing drops back down flat. And we're back. So you can see we're down to 0 pressure. This little guy has gone down. Be careful, this is like super duper hot. So now we're gonna open her up. Alrighty, so let's get this open. So you just push the handles back the other direction and open this away from you so you don't get steam in your face. Oh, it's hot. Let's see what we're looking like in here. Looks good, no broken jars. All right, I've still got my little mat. Got my grabbies. All right, now we wait. Oh, we've already got one that's sealed. Maybe 2, maybe 3. That was really fast. So just leave the water on top of the cans alone, and we're gonna let it sit here for 12 to 24 hours undisturbed. So I'll see you back here tomorrow. It's pretty cool looking. All right, it is the next day, and you guys, we have perfectly sealed chicken broth. Check it out. Let's test it and make sure it all sealed properly. It looks like it did, but you do want to double check by doing this. So you remove the rings, which by the way, you want to store your chicken broth or anything you're canning without these rings because they can create a false seal if the seal does break. So how we're gonna check for this is we're gonna pick up by the lid And this one is properly sealed. Let's check the others. Got a good seal there. Perfect, it worked. Also, sorry if you see all this stuff on the floor. Still unpacking from the beach. It's crazy. But also, the trick of putting vinegar in the water really helped. I mean, look how clear this glass is in comparison to the glass from the last time I canned. This is the last time, and this is yesterday. You can totally see a big difference. This one's super cloudy on the glass, and this one's super clear. So definitely a cool trick, and it worked. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I hope it was super helpful. I know it would have been helpful for me to have a concise video like that when I was learning how to can chicken broth. I do want to note that you should do your own research based on your elevation as well as the canner that you're using. So keep in mind, you do have to pressure can chicken broth. You cannot water bath can chicken broth. And you do want to look at your manufacturer's instructions along with checking the amount of pressure that you need in your pressure cooker based on your elevation. So anyway, I hope this is helpful, and I will see you guys again very soon. Goodbye.